Federal government to evacuate Nigerians trapped in Sudan. And also President Zelensky invites Tinubu to Ukraine on a state visit. Zimbabwe President Emerson vows free and fair elections. Hello and a warm welcome. This is News Live on Viewer Television and my name is Philip Slevin. First, the federal government has said it is consulting in response to a request by Nigerian students in Sudan for evacuation from the country. Newspaper reports that the country is currently witnessing hostility between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary group. Rapid Support Forces. This was contained in a statement signed by Gabriel Odu for the Media, Public Relation and Protocol Units, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission on Thursday. Now, Odu said NIDCOM was in consultation with the National Emergency Management Agency, which is in charge of emergency evacuation, and also with Nigerian mission in Sudan and other relevant agencies. Now, he said Chairman NIDCOM Abike Dabire-Erewa urged all Nigerian students in Sudan, as well as Nigerians living in Sudan, to be security conscious and calm. The President of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, has congratulated Nigerian President-elect Bola Tinubu on his election victory. Now, this was even as Zelensky invited him to his war-ravaged country of Ukraine on a state visit. The facilitation is coming 2 months after the former Lagos governor was declared winner of the contentious presidential election. In his congratulatory message, Zelensky praised Tinubu over his victory, adding that his war-torn country is determined to further strengthen cooperation with Nigeria. The Ukrainian leader also used the opportunity to extend an invitation to the president-elect to visit Ukraine on a state visit after his inauguration on May 29th. The Commandant, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Gombe State, Commander Achir Abraham on Thursday announced the deployment of 780 personnel for robust security arrangements and crime prevention. Now, Abraham disclosed that those deployed will maintain safety before, during, and after this year's Eid al-Fitr celebration in Gombe. Now, the Commandant's announcement was contained in a press statement signed by the Public Relations Officer of the Command, DSC Buhari Saad. Now, Abraham stressed that personnel will be deployed on major roads, patrol teams, and surveillance squad to cover critical national assets, worship centers, recreational centers, marketplaces, motor parks, shopping centers, and black spots across the state for adequate security of lives and properties. The Jewish community and Al-Habibia Islamic Society in Abuja distributed food items to 500 Muslims and Christian women in spirit of Easter and the month of Ramadan. Now, speaking while coordinating the distribution of the food items, Habiba Ahmad, Director, Welfare and Endowment Foundation of Al-Habibia, said the gesture was aimed at lessening the difficulties the poor and vulnerable suffer during the month of Ramadan. Now, she called on all Muslims, especially the wealthy, to redouble efforts in assisting the poor and less privileged in society to reduce poverty in the country.
We give aid to the less privileged, and that is what we are doing today. We do collaborate with Chabad Aid and NAIR and any other organization who deem it necessary to collaborate with us. We accept aid and we do the distribution.
Also speaking, Rafat Salami, a volunteer with the Al-Habibia Islamic Society, reaffirmed that the society over the years distributed food items to the less privileged in the Federal Capital Territory.
Those who want to give out charity always look for us. Chabad Aid look for us, and they brought about 200 packs of food that we are currently distributing. In addition to the 200 packs they brought, we have another 300 packs here that we are going to distribute. As you can see outside, the crowd is overwhelming and everybody will go home with something.
We'll be going on a break, and when News Live returns, we'll be looking at the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, on Wednesday, warned that bandits could take advantage of transition period to launch bloody attacks in the country. Now we have details of this and more after this break.
Before you came round, my heart would never beat like
the story of a charmer and his crush.
Before you came round, I was ready to slow down. Before you came round, I was heading for a small disaster. Before you came round, I was ready to blow me down.
Tat Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
In this 21st century, where all the information we need is now in the palm of our hands. News from around the world, entertainment, celebrity gossip, sports, and much more. The only thing that you need is the right source. Viewer TV is now on the go. Simply check us out on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter for all the information you need.
Well, you are most welcome back, and if you are just joining us, this is News Live on Viewer Television. Now, before we move forward, here's a recap of our top stories. Federal government to evacuate Nigerians trapped in Sudan. And also President Zelensky invites Tinubu to Ukraine on a state visit. Now, from Nigeria, Zimbabwe President Emerson vows free and fair elections. Now moving forward, the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai on Wednesday warned that bandits could take advantage of the transition period to launch bloody attacks in the country. Now he therefore advised the security operators against bandits should be increased in the remaining days of current administration and beyond. Now El-Rufai spoke during the presentation of a security report by the Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs Samuel Aruwan at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim Government House, Kaduna, the state capital, on Wednesday. Now, the reviewed 2022 annual and first quarter 2023 security reports indicated that 1,266 and 4,973 persons were killed and kidnapped, respectively, in 15 months. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, the European Union and the federal government have underscored the need for a strategic approach to effectively tackle wildlife and forest crimes. Now, Oliver Stolpe, country representative of United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, spoke at the inaugural ceremony of International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime Analytical Toolkit Nigeria in Abuja. Now, he decried the high level of environmental degradation, saying Nigeria had one of the highest rates of deforestation globally, saying that from 2002 to 2020, the country lost 141 kilohertz of humid primary forest, equivalent to 14% of its total tree cover.
Massive, unsustainable and mostly illegal extraction threatens the livelihoods of local communities as well as the species who called these woods their home. Wildlife is not only threatened by the continuous shrinking of their habitat, but also by professional poachers as well as by local hunters. Organized criminal trade of wildlife and forest products through Nigerian ports has created a threat to biodiversity across the entire region. None of these developments have gone unobserved, neither by the government of Nigeria nor by the international community.
Samuela Sopi, ambassador of the EU to Nigeria, who was represented by Dr. Sobri Makawi, program officer, EU delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS, described the event as an urgent step for survival of not just the animal but protected but humans.
This effort, when fully analyzed, is about the preservation of human species as much as it is about the preservation of wild animals. That explains why this event is funded by the European Union through the General Grant for the implementation of the International Consortium for Combating Wildlife Crime, which include Nigeria as a target country. The European Union will continue to play a leading role in supporting actions that contribute to the preservation, conservation, and protection of wildlife.
Now, during the official inauguration of the toolkit, Mohammed Abdullahi, Minister of Environment, WEHO, was represented by Stanley Jonah, Director of Planning, Research and Statistics, said the toolkit will further boost sustainable management of forest and biological resources.
Welcome and work closely with our development partners to sustain and heighten the tempo as necessary as we have resolved to leave no stone unturned in protecting and conserving our valued natural endowments for national development and for the sake of our planet. As you have observed, the responsibility is not for one entity to shoulder. It calls for strategic involvement of a broad range of stakeholders and partners, building a sense of ownership and responsibility that is required for qualitative and quantitative results.
And now in politics, the Labour Party governorship candidate in Bayelsa State, Udengs Iradiri, has condemned the killings of youth identified as Dangot Douglas by the commercial tricycle list in Yenezu Yene area of Yenegua Environs over 15 naira. Now, the commercial tricyclist had stabbed Douglas to death over a disagreement about a 50 naira change. He also decried the jungle justice meted out to the unidentified tricycle operator by an angry mob that lynched him to death, sparking off pandemonium in the state capital. Budengs, in a statement on Thursday, said the acts of violence amounted to a careless waste of precious lives and called on security agencies, particularly police, to avert a possible breakdown of law and order. An Abuja-based human rights lawyer, Pelumi Elajegbesi, has commended the Inspector General of Police, Usman Ali Baba, for maintaining strict disciplinary measures in the Nigerian police force by getting rid of errant and high-handed policemen with the force and exposing them to the public to beware and take note of such bad acts. Ola Jengbesi, who is the managing partner at the Abuja-based law firm Law Corridor, said if the energy and value system of professionalism and strict discipline is sustained, the police will witness a turnaround that will significantly reduce extrajudicial killings and abuse of firearms by police officers. The lawyer also commended the Nigerian people and the media for having the courage to report cases of abuse by policemen all over the country. According to reports, scores of high-handed policemen have been dismissed and ranked or even prosecuted for different cases of abuses since the assumption of IGP Baba on April 6, 2021. The federal government has reiterated its stand to support every policy and programs aimed at ensuring full implementation of the single African air transport market in Nigeria. Senator Hadi Sirika, the Minister of Aviation, gave the assurance in Abuja during the hosting of the SATIM PEEP Cluster 1 Coalition Roadshow by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. The minister, who also was represented at the occasion by Dr. Emmanuel Murubeli, the permanent secretary of the Aviation Ministry, stated that the air transport market in sub-Saharan Africa presented a strong dichotomy in Southern and Eastern Africa, wherein market was growing with few major African carriers dominating international and domestic markets, which are becoming increasingly concentrated.
We reiterate that this government shall continue to support policies and programs that will support and project the full implementation of SATIM in Nigeria. As we are all aware, air transport markets in sub-Saharan Africa presents a strong dichotomy. In Southern and Eastern Africa, the market is growing, while in Central and Western Africa, the sector is stagnating. With the vacuum created by the collapse of mostly state-owned airlines, leaving operations to a few privately owned airlines in the region, Nigeria is assiduously working towards launching its own national carrier that is expected to provide additional frequencies and actualizing the policies and principles of SATIM in Nigeria and Africa at large.
A statement signed by the Captain Musa Nuhu, the Director General of Civil Aviation, stated that the SATIM PEEP Cluster 1 Coalition Roadshow was the first of its kind in Africa for states identified to proceed with the accelerated implementation of SATIM.
By the African Civil Aviation Commission is quite commendable and born out of the desire to address the challenges of air travel in the region, as well as eliminating to the barest minimums any impediments to the full and sustainable implementation of SATIM. It is believed that SATIM will enhance intra-African connections and make movement of passengers and cargo smooth with minimum transit points at competitive prices, Achieving this requires a collective resolve, not only to implement SATM, but also to make conscientious efforts to address the issues of non-physical barriers, including the high costs of travel within the region.
Well, this is still news live here on Viewer Television. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at business and international news. Don't go nowhere.